Alright, hey, HadesOmega here, and this is the after action review for Wednesday Night Drags, June 28th, 2023. Alright, so this is the last drag race for June. Alright, and so what we're supposed and an after action review is what was supposed to happen, what really happened, and things that we could do to improve, or things that we could do to maintain, type of thing. Okay, things that went well. So what was supposed to happen? Well, okay, here's my story. I went on Facebook the day before and it said, hey, this is the last Wednesday Night Drags until August. All right, so there's gonna be like a 1 month break. All right, in July. It doesn't even really get that hot in July. I don't know why we can't race in July, man. The hot month is August, guys. August and like early September is when it's the hottest in the Bay Area, alright, guys? And I think July is okay. Supposedly this weekend it's supposed to get really hot too. It's supposed to be like triple digits in certain places. So supposedly today was going to be 81 degrees. And did it get that hot? No, it didn't. It just stayed in the 70s all day. The weather was actually quite pleasant the whole day. All right. Generally, when it's cool in the daytime, it's freezing at night. All right, and it got kind of chilly at night. I'd say like the 60s. So weather plays a big part in drag racing, all right? But not if you have an electric bike. Okay. But anyway, yeah. So since it was the last one, I had two choices, guys. All right. One was to take the light beat. All right, I had fixed the problem with the hole shot, getting the hole shot on the light beam. What I did is I just jacked the power up all the way. All right, I just get the maximum power all the time. That's how I want it. All right, I don't want it to ramp up slowly. I don't know what it is about the KO tuning. They think like you're some kind of newbie and you don't know how to control the power, man. Like I need all the power from the get-go. Okay. Sometimes it's kind of a handful, all right? Anyway, that's besides the point. And then the other option I had was to take my new bike, all right? My 2018 Alta Redshift SM, okay? And I wanted to do both of them, all right? Unfortunately, I had to choose one or the other, and I'm like, well, you know, if it's going to be like more than a month before the next race, I kind of want to see what the Redshift does, all right? And I wanted to share my new toy with the dudes at the track, all right? We're like a whole big family over there. All right, we're always there out there racing and shooting the shit type of thing. All right. So okay, so I decided Alta Redshift. All right, we're gonna take Alta Redshift SM39 and see how it is to do drag race. I was really interested to see what it does. HadesOmega was kind of a little bit. I wouldn't say scared, but I was anxious, all right? I was kind of anxious about how the bike would do, all right? Will it have like, oh, so much power, the front's gonna come up all the time, am I gonna loop the bike, or is it just gonna do wheelies all the time, or maybe the tires will just spin all the time? Yeah, it's a different kind of animal compared to the Light B, okay? I have raced a big electric bike before. It was a Victory Impulse TT, all right, Impulse 139, all right, if you guys remember that bike, and yeah, that bike was pretty easy to drag race, all right, but it had gears, all right, yeah. So this is my first time drag racing a large electric bike that doesn't have gears, all right. It's just one speed, all right. So all you basically do is just twist and go, all right? With the Impulse, I had to shift gears, all right? So, but if anything, the big difference is it's just a bigger version of the Sauron, all right? The Sauron is very lightweight, but it doesn't have the kind of torque and power that this bike has, all right? While this one is kind of heavy, and it's got like a lot of torque, a lot of power, man. It is just a hoot to freaking ride, man. From zero to like 60, it's so powerful, man. I'm telling you. Ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it. All right, so it's pretty much a stock Alta Redshift SM at the moment. There's really not much done to it. There are some things that I kind of want to do to it, but for the most part, it's just we're just going to be doing the I'm just going to get better tires for it. Okay, And it definitely, after tonight, it definitely looks like we could benefit from better tires for drag racing type of thing. Okay. Okay, but other than that, yeah, it's stock. We just want to see what it does. I'm interested in what its quarter mile time is and what kind of reaction times we can get. All right. If it's one thing I've learned about electric bikes, the time it takes for you to twist the throttle and the bike actually moving is slow. Okay, and we'll find that out right now. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the weather real quick, and then we'll talk about the racing. Okay. Today was supposed to be like a special event, and they had like food trucks and a car show and stuff. It was pretty cool, but we went to go drag racing, right? And there was a lot of cars that showed up, and a decent amount of bikes showed up to go racing too. Okay, I'd imagine it's probably because of the same reason HadesOmega went. Oh, it's the last one for like a month. Well, I got to get my drag racing fix in. Okay. The crazy thing is, I had done a supermoto race the weekend before, right? HadesOmega's just been racing, and the one thing I hate about racing is it costs a lot of money, all right? It cost me $40 to go to Sonoma Raceway and race, and then I still have to pay for gas and everything, all right? But yeah, that's how much it costs to race, $40, okay, guys? All right, so the weather was, like I said, it was supposed to be in the 80s, but it was it was more like the 70s, and then later when it got colder, probably around 60s, maybe 50s. But the good thing is, wasn't so windy. All right, well, sometimes it was windy and sometimes it wasn't. The wind would just kind of play with us the whole night. But I learned something interesting about the weather. Okay, that the weather doesn't affect this bike that much, all right? And we'll find out when we check the times, okay? But yeah, it was, so our first pass had a tailwind, and then the rest of the time we had a headwind. It was kind of like a weak headwind, all right? Not very bright, not very strong headwind, all right? And then it would just kind of, sometimes it would speed up, sometimes it would die down. Yeah, really hard to get your dial in, is what I want to say. This probably would have been a good night. Yeah, this might have been a good night to take the light B out. Okay, I'm not sure, but this one was good too. Okay, so all right, first run comes along, and we're racing against. Damn, I don't remember who we raced against. All right. Or anyway, for the first practice, we lined up on the left, and HadesOmega, I have a little bit of practice launching the bike. All right, like I said, I raced it in the supermoto race the weekend before, so I kind of have an idea, how to launch it. But it's very similar to the Soron. All right. So what HadesOmega does is I get on the front brake. I try. So okay, one thing about this bike is it's bigger. It's much bigger than the Soron, way bigger than the Soron, and I can actually move around on it. All right. So I sit on the front, all right, pretty much. I got my butt over where the foot pegs are, all right, that's like almost the front of the seat. And then I've got my elbows up, and I'm trying to get my weight over the front so it doesn't come up, all right. I guess that's what you don't want. You don't want it to do a wheelie. If it does a wheelie, then you're not getting the power to the ground, all right. The power is trying to push the front end up, all right, type of thing. Okay. But basically what I did is, yeah, that seating position I was talking about, I would get on just like the Soron, I would hit the front brake when we stage, all right? When we got it staged, and I deep stage every time, right? I knew that the reaction times are probably slow. My reaction times were kind of slow, so I always deep stage, all right? That's when you have there's the two bulbs, right? The four bulbs, but they light up in pairs. Well, when you get the 4 bulbs to light up, and then you go forward and wait till one of the other lights disappears, that's called deep staging, all right? That means you're deep in there, and you'll be closer to the beams to break them, all right? So that means your reaction time could be quicker, all right? Now if you shallow stage, you're going back, right? And you'll have more momentum before the light breaks, and your ETs will be faster, okay? So shallow stage, faster ETs, deep stage, better reaction times. All right, closer. It'll be yeah, closer to reaction times. So HadesOmega always deep stage. Okay, so I deep stage, and then like I said, I got my weight on the front, elbows up like this, and my weight on the front to keep it from going up and down. Hands on the brake, and then I twist the throttle just enough until I could feel the bike start to move a little bit. It, you know, it makes a little noise, but I got my hand on the brake, it won't go anywhere. All right, and then when I see the yellow light go, I let go of the brake and I just twist the throttle. Okay, simple as that. Don't have to worry about any kind of shifting like the impulse. All right, the only thing I have to worry about is keeping the front down. Okay, yeah. So I twist it and go. And I try to tuck down as much as I can, but like I'm sitting in the front, so it's kind of I'm not like I can't get like a really good tuck going on. All right, so we fixed that in the second run. But anyway, on the first run, we got a .123. Really, that's a pretty good reaction time. All right, it's not good, but it's not bad. All right, and that is actually one of the best reaction times of the night, unfortunately. All right, my 60 foot was 2.086. 330 foot was 5.368. 1/8 mile was 8.298 at 79.79 miles an hour. 1,000 foot was 11.198, and my ET was 13.927 at 79.91 miles per hour. Okay. The bike that was in the right lane, man, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember who I raced. There was like so many bikes that night. But they ran like an 11. It's pretty fast, and they got a .167 reaction time. This is okay. Ours was a .123, so we treat them. All right, so that was the first run. That's actually really good. All right, 13.927, pretty good. So that's what I got. So HadesOmega has, you know, my guess was we would get somewhere around the 14 seconds. All right, the Light B gets around 16 seconds. And my guess was this one would get 14 seconds, and HadesOmega was right. All right, we got a 13.927. Pretty much call that 14 seconds. All right, but it's a 13-second bike. We rode it into 13 seconds, so we can say it's a 13-second bike. All right, just barely. Okay. Also, another thing we learned from that is the top speed is 80 miles an hour on the Alta Redshift SM. Okay. I don't know if there's a way you can make that faster. Probably, if you mess around with the gearing, you probably could. Okay. Yeah, so it ran at 13.927. Okay, so the interesting thing about the first run was we had a tailwind. All right, so that's when the wind is going the direction you're going, and you can get the fastest times. All right, you don't have a aerodynamic penalty. All right. The wind is in the speed is in your favor. All right, so this is your chance to go fast, HadesOmega, and we got a 13.9. I was like, oh, that's pretty good, not bad. So it's like a 14-second bike, and it can do 80 miles an hour. So one thing I noted was about halfway, like at the 1/8 mile, you already hit your top speed. All right, you get to 80 miles per hour pretty freaking damn fast. I just want to say, all right. It took about 8.3 seconds to get to the 1/8 mile. All right, to get to 80 mile. 8 seconds to get to 80 miles an hour. Pretty fast, if you ask me. Right? And yeah, it just pulls. It pulls hard until you get to the 1/8 mile, and then it's like you kind of hit a brick wall, and it just keeps on sailing at like 80 miles an hour. It's kind of a bad thing and kind of a good thing. Okay. The bad thing is it's going to affect your ET. Your ET is not going to be as high as it could be, all right, because you're not accelerating the whole time. You just kind of hit that brick wall. One good thing about that is this bike would be like a great 1/8 mile bike, all right. So if you're racing 1/8 mile, you know, you're accelerating the whole time until you get to the 1/8 mile. Yeah. Oh, okay. The third thing is, it makes this bike very consistent, all right, because you've used all that power all really quickly, and then you're kind of just coasting along at that 80 miles an hour top speed. You'll be very consistent, all right. So that might be something we might want to try on the Suron, is to put the speed limiter on it, all right. If you got the speed limiter on it, you're going to go the same speed the whole time, all right, and then it should make you more consistent, all right. What's the name of the game in bracket drags racing? it's consistency, all right? How many times can you run your number, all right? How many times can you run that number, and then run that number type of thing, okay? That's what wins bracket drag racing, okay? You don't really necessarily need a fast bike. You don't necessarily need a slow bike. You just need a bike that can run consistent times, all right? And apparently, Alta Redshift SM is that bike, all right? I'll find that out tonight, all right? Anyway, yeah, so we had a tailwind, all right? Second run rolls along. It was about an hour later, all right? There's beginning to come more and more cars to show up, and it's taking longer to get our run done, all right? So the second run, we were on the left again. We had a reaction time of .335, a 60 foot of 2.001, a 330 foot of 5.328, 1/8 mile at 8.330, at 78.95 miles an hour. At the 1,000 foot was 11.251, and our ET was 13,996, guys, with a speed of 79.40 miles an hour. All right, pretty much 80 miles an hour. All right, so we ran a 13,927 last time, and then now we ran a 13,996. And mind you, we had a headwind this time, all right? So we still ran 13.9, even though the wind had changed against our favor, right, of being faster. So that just tells you this bike is consistent no matter what the wind is, all right? It doesn't matter how much tailwind or headwind. And that, I think what comes into play is that 80 mile an hour top speed, okay? We get there so fast, and it just, sailing right along. That makes it more consistent. So the days of being plagued by the wind, all right, the headwind or the tailwind or just the wind in Sonoma period are kind of over with this bike, all right? The Lightbee is greatly affected by the wind, all right? This bike, not so much, because it's got that power to push through the wind, all right, and then it just kind of coasts right along. Supermotos are typically known to be not very aerodynamic, all right? You got horrible aerodynamics on a supermoto. That's the big drawback to them. They're not very, they handle very well, all right? They're, they can do tight corners and all that stuff. However, they're not very aerodynamic. They're not like a sport bike where you can get, tucked in behind, the fairings and all that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty naked. You're kind of not thing. All right, but the good thing, okay, so the second time around, I did something a little different, all right? So, like I mentioned, I sit in the front of the bike, like where the foot pegs are, but I knew, like, oh, you know what, the bike is a lot bigger. You can move around. So when you take off, if you take off and the front doesn't come up and you can put your foot on the foot peg, scoot your butt back. So that's what I did. I scoot my butt back to the back, so I can get a good tuck in, because we know the front's not going to come up anymore, so I don't have to really be in the front anymore. So I would just elbows out like this, and then I would slowly kind of let the bike pull forward, and then I will slide my butt on the seat and then get a good tuck in there, all right? That will make us more aerodynamic, all right, if we do that. So that I got my technique down, all right? So that's what we did, and it felt pretty comfortable too. Like I said, the bike is big, you can move around on it pretty easily. All right, so yeah, that was the second run. All right, we ran 13.9 twice. All right, okay, so another hour comes by, and we're gonna do our third practice run. All right, I think I did this one alone. Yeah, so it was at 7 o'clock, 7:11, and no, I didn't go alone. And so I did the same thing as we did last time. All right, same exact. We took off. And then the front didn't come up. I slid my back, and we tucked in, okay? And I told myself, hey, you need to be more aggressive with the throttle. You got to twist it faster, all right? So that's what I just kept on. I tried as hard as I could, guys. Okay, our reaction time was .149, all right, which is, it's okay. We're doing a little better. And then our 60 foot was 2.008. 330 foot is 5.336. Our 1/8 mile is 8.344 at 78.86 miles an hour. 1,000 foot was 11.269. The ET of 14.018, all right, at 79.38 miles an hour. So pretty much same top speed, but the ET is 14 seconds now. All right, so we got this a teeny bit slower since the last time. The last time we got a what? A 13.996. All right, so yeah, we're hovering there around the 14s. All right, 996, 13.996 is pretty much 14. All right, so yeah, very very consistent. We're within, like, we're at that 13.9 and 14 second, you know, ETs. So very good. So okay, so I'm thinking we may run 13. We ran 13.9 twice and 14. So the reason why we got slower was maybe the headwind affected us. Maybe the bike went slower for some reason. All right. It could be that the charge is getting lower. I noted that the charge would be like 5% less every time. All right. Every time we did one run, it would eat up 5% of the battery. So pretty good. Pretty good power consumption. I think the light bead kind of eats up a little bit more. All right. So let's say the light bead's a little more thirsty. So this actually handles the quarter mile just fine. All right. So yeah, our voltage could be going down, and if your voltage goes down, then the bike isn't as powerful, right? So it could be any number of things, all right? But anyway, we're around the 14 seconds. So HadesOmega decides, oh, we're gonna dial a 13.9 just to play it safe, all right? Will keep us from breaking out. So we dial a 13.9. I'm racing against, I think his name was Ronald, was it? He was a dude riding a CBR 1000 R, okay? Very fast bike, all right? Capable of running 11s, all right? So that's what he ran. All right, so we dialed in a 13.9. We go line up. We got all our technique down. HadesOmega's going to try to twist it as fast as he can. I think I fell asleep at the light. But I got a .213 reaction time. Man, it's like the worst one tonight, man. HadesOmega. 60 foot, 1.989. A 330 foot, 5.368. 1/8 mile is 8.437 at 77.47 miles an hour. 1,000 foot is 11.373. Our ET was 14.133 at 79.05 miles an hour. Okay, we're getting slower. Yep, we're getting slower. We got slower by a tenth of a second. All right, we went from 14 seconds. Yeah, we went from 14.018 to 14.133. All right, yeah, almost a tenth of a second slower. Okay, which is it's still not bad. All right, we're still in that kind of realm of the 14s. All right, so we won that one. All right, and the reason we won is because the other dude broke out. The right side broke out. He dialed in 1140, and he ran 11.319. All right, so immediately lost. All right, when I crossed the finish line, I had already seen the win light. I knew I won already. Okay, and that's how it goes. All right, his reaction time was worse than ours too, and he was off his time. Well, anyway, he broke out, but he was like 0.7 off his time. All right, he went 0.7 seconds faster than his time. All right, so when you go faster than your time, you break out and you immediately lose, pretty much. All right, unless it's a double breakout. Okay, so I told myself, hey, HadesOmega, you better not lose against this guy because he's a new guy and he doesn't really know what's up. All right, so hopefully, thanks for racing, Ronald. I think that was his name, and hope you come back and race some more, type of thing. All right. Okay. And then the final round, all right? So HadesOmega got through round one, all right, of eliminations. And then HadesOmega got eliminated in the second round, all right? So here's how it happens. I raced against Eric Oliver, all right? So, and also the way they do the races, the bracket is they make a bracket, all right? And it's I think it's based on your reaction times or something. I'm not really sure who. Usually, the way I've seen it is they kind of pair an older rider with like a newer rider, like a more experienced rider with the older rider, with the newer rider, right? And obviously the older rider is gonna destroy the newer rider unless they get lucky, type of thing, like they break out or something. All right. Anyway, so I okay, I'm racing Eric Oliver, all right, and we flip for it, all right. He flips his vape pen or something, and there's a dot on one side, all right. So he flips it, so we can choose what side we want, all right, and then I lose, okay. It's like tails, all right, and I picked heads, right, type of thing. So Eric wanted to be on the left, so he got the left, and then I got the right. Unfortunately, I hadn't been running on the right all day long. I've been staying on the left side the whole time, and I know like where to line up and everything. Well, now I have to go on the right side. Well, so okay, no big deal. All right, so here's what happens. All right, so last time we got like a 14-1. I said, hey, we'll dial a 14 seconds flat. All right. Hopefully we'll run slower than that. All right. Well, we sure did. All right. We had a reaction time of .141. Not too bad. 60 foot at 2.683. At 330 foot at 6.236. 1/8 mile 9.365 at 75.99 miles an hour. 1,000 foot was 12.319. All right. And our ET was 15.084. At 78.79 miles an hour. So what happened, HadesOmega? How did we lose? All right, we didn't break out. All right. So what happened was when I took off. All right. Remember, we're on the right side, and I get on the throttle. I spun the rear tire. All right. Yeah, I was putting all my weight on the front, and then the rear tire spun. I felt it spin, and I let off, and I was like, oh shit, I spun. And then when I feel it stop spinning, I get back on the throttle, and then we take off. All right. Well, in the process of closing the throttle and opening the throttle, ate up 1 second, and we ran a 15.084. Right, pretty much 1 second slower than last time. Okay. So we were like 1 second off. Yeah, we were almost exactly a second off. All right. Well, Eric dials in a 11.79, all right, and he runs a 12.142, right? Well, he didn't break out, for one thing. He ran at 106.88 miles an hour. His reaction time was better than ours by it's 0.071, so pretty much he treated us, man. He was twice as fast reacting than we did, all right? If you cut my reaction time in half, it's what he got almost. Okay. And he was closer to his dial. All right, he dialed in 11.79, and he ran a 12.142. That's 4.4 seconds, almost 0.5 or half a second, pretty much. All right, and we were off by like a full second. All right, and he had a better reaction time. So Eric totally beat us. Okay. There's no way we could have won that. He won by 0.8022 seconds, right? Almost a full second. All right. Okay, let's just say theoretically that we had run that 14-1 that we ran last time, all right? We would have been like a tenth of a second off, all right? So Eric was off, kind of off. He was off by 0.4 seconds, and we would have been off by 0.1 second. And our reaction time wasn't still as good as his, but I mean, we would have been, 0.1 second. So 0.1 second will turn into 0.2 seconds. We would have done twice as good as Eric did. So if we'd ran our number last time, we would have been fine, all right? But we spun the tire. That's racing, guys. That's what happens. So what could have contributed to? Yeah. So let's. This is kind of part of the last part of the AAR. Like what went wrong? All right. Well, what went wrong is we spun that freaking tire, right? We've done like 4 passes already tonight. Yep, we did 4 passes, quarter-mile passes, and I didn't spin a single time, all right? And I told myself, yeah, you got to be aggressive with the throttle. Just twist that sucker and just go. And that's what I did, and it spun the tire, all right? So what could have contributed to this? Well, the weather is one thing, all right? So it got a lot cooler from the last run to this run, all right? And that that's just how it is. The later in the day it gets, the cooler it gets, right? So the track is colder, so you're going to have less traction. So one thing we could have done to prevent the tire spinning is to lower the tire pressure. All right. So I'm running the track day tire pressures. I think the rear is like a 26 or something. So we could have lowered the tire pressure to maybe like a 20 or something. All right, somewhere around there. 21, somewhere like 20, 21, and maybe we would have had more traction. Another thing we could have done, burnout. Okay, we could have done a burnout. All right. So I'm not gonna lie, HadesOmega has never. That is the very first time I spun. All right, I've never spun ever drag racing. Right, because I race the light beam most of the time, and the tires just don't spin on it, man. They don't spin on it, or if I'm riding a bike with the clutch, I let the clutch out, kind of slowly. Right, I don't just dump it right away. All right. But yeah, I've never spun on the line. It was kind of scary, and it kind of like well, it wasn't scary, but it was a kind of like what the hell moment. Like, oh shit, it's spinning. Well, what do I do? Well, the only thing we can do is let off the throttle. All right, because if you kept on giving it power, you just keep on spinning pretty much. Maybe that, or it might have hooked up. Who knows? But yeah, this thing has like so much torque off the line. It's ridiculous, man. I'm telling you. It's freaking awesome how much power it has. Another thing could have been maybe sit farther back on the seat so we can put more weight on the back. All right, I was trying to put all the weight on the front so it doesn't come up. Maybe change our seating position. All right, maybe sit behind the foot peg just a teeny tiny bit. All right, you gotta figure out that balance point where the front won't come up. But yeah, okay. So that's kind of the game here, right? Especially if you got a bigger bike like this. I didn't have to worry about this with the Sauron at all. So that's one thing that we got to worry about with this bike, right? Even though it's so consistent, is that yes, it has a lot of torque, a ridiculous amount of torque, and it will spin the tires off the line if you're not careful. Okay. Another thing Doug told me, he told me that it could have been wet where I was at, all right, or I didn't go in the groove. Another thing that contributed to it was, yeah, I haven't been running on the right side at all the whole day, and then so all of a sudden, instead of being on the left, I was on the right, and so it's consistency plays a big game in drag racing, right? And well, that wasn't very consistent when I had to go to the right side. All right. I choose you choose like where the grooves where the cars are. All right, you can see the grooves where the car tires are. You just stay in those. You know that one has the most traction because that's where everyone's laying the rubber down. All right, type of thing. And there could have been a wet spot, like when the track workers, they kind of mop the stuff up if fuel or oil or something stuff goes down, and if you go into one of those spots that they were mopping up, it could have been wet, and yeah, that could have contributed to it. So maybe next time stay on the right side, all right? Because I stayed on the left side. I use the left track, all right? Yeah, or don't lose a coin toss with Eric, so you can choose the left side. HadesOmega prefers the left side, honestly, all right? The left side is my favorite. The right side it doesn't really matter, honestly, but the right side kind of sucks because when the sun comes down, it could hit you. It could hit your eyes. The sunset will be in your vision, and it'll be harder to see the tree. All right. Now they have one on the right side, but yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's why I don't like being on the right. But other than that, most of the time that's not going to happen. All right. There's only like a certain time of day that happens. Okay. So anyway, we lost in the second round. Boo hoo. I'm sad. I lost to get to Eric, man. Good job, Eric. Good job in beating us. Had I not have spun, yeah, we just have to be careful not to spin, all right? But yeah, what things do we have to improve, and then I'll get on with the rest of the drag racing. Yeah, so I mean, the good thing is we went out and we saw what this machine could do. It seems to be running 13.9 around the 14 seconds. 13.9 around 14 seconds is where this bike gets, and it pretty consistently gets like 80 mile an hour passes, all right? Like 79 to 80, all right? Most of it was like 79 is what I'll say. Okay? Yeah, and then yeah, we could move around in the bike. It's really easy to launch. It's only one gear. And then we have to kind of be careful about the tire spinning, all right? So what I might want to do is probably lower the tire pressure. Try a lower tire pressure. Maybe next time we'll try 24 psi, all right? I think we're at 26 or something. It could help to do a burnout, but I feel we don't really need to do a burnout, all right? But I think for the most part, I did everything that I could do. If the tire is going to spin, then the tire is going to spin, all right? Maybe I should have put a little bit more of my weight to the back. But if you put your weight to the back, the problem is the front might come up too, okay? If the front comes up or you spin the tire, that's the game, guys, all right? If the tire hooks up, the front may come up, all right? You want to keep the front down, all right? All right, and then if you don't have enough traction in the rear, you spin the tires, all right? And then that's not good either, all right? So you kind of have to strike a balance between popping a wheelie and spinning the tires, all right? One thing that we could have done is lower the tire pressure, and I think that's what we could have done. We could probably go down all the way down to 20, all right? It doesn't need to be, thing. So next time maybe we try and lower tire pressure, and because it was cold, we had less traction also. So it's just bad luck, HadesOmega. But we found out this is a hell of a drag bike. It gets really, really consistent quarter-mile times, all right? It's kind of annoying that you kind of hit a brick wall in the middle, but because of that, it makes it a very consistent bike, and we found that out. We consistently ran around the 14-second mark. Sometimes with the Light B, if the wind just blows a little bit, we're off by like half a second already, The wind doesn't affect this bike all that much because it's got so much power and torque to just punch through the wind, all right? So yeah, I look forward to drag racing it again. One thing we could do is put better tires on it. Maybe I'm planning to get some slicks, so maybe we can try racing with some slick tires. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else we can do. Just do what you're doing, HadesOmega. We did great tonight, all right. But unfortunately, we spun the tire on that last run, so kind of sucks. Yeah, and we don't have a clutch to kind of modulate it and stuff. You just gotta twist it and hope for the best. Okay. All right. So what happened after that? We got eliminated in round 2. Round 3 comes along. Ooh, I have the videos of them. I think. Okay, yeah. It was Sean in the Concourse versus Craig in the Triumph Speed Twin, and Craig beat Sean by just a little bit. All right, it was a very close battle, and then I think Doug got a bye run, and then Joe raced against Eric. All right, the guy that we lost to raced against Joe on the Hayabusa. All right, so Eric on the CBR and then Joe on the Hayabusa, and then Joe beat Eric. Eric broke out is what happened. So, but damn it! Why couldn't you breaking out when you raced me, Eric? Come on, type of thing. Anyway, yeah. So Joe advances to the 4th round, right? And then, so for the 4th round, we've got Craig Love and Doug Love, all right? And yeah, Craig is on his Triumph Speed Twin, and then Doug is on his Triumph Bonneville, all right? Both Triumphs, it's pretty cool. It's a father and son race, all right? That's why they have the same last name. And Doug winds up losing, all right? The reason he lost was I think he told them his dial-in time, and they put the wrong time in, right? And they were like a tenth of a second off, right? But Craig winds up winning, and then in the final round, Craig goes up against Joe, and Joe wins. Okay, so Joe wins the finals. Congratulations, Joe. And then Craig is these semi-finalists. All right, and that's it. And that's the racing for June 28th, 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed the after action review. Make sure you check out the race video. All right, it's got all the juicy bits in it. All right, and you can see what Alta Redshift SM39 can do. All right, I'm actually pretty impressed. It's a great drag bike. It's really easy to ride. I don't think we wheelied at all. I don't remember it wheeling, and we spun the tire once. Okay, so we got to be careful with the spinning of the tires. So some of the things that we got to improve is well, one thing, these tires are old, man. They're no good, man. They don't grip for shit, and I found that out during the Supermoto race, man. It's just I think once we get some fresh tires on this bike, it'll it'll be much better. All right, but it just handles like shit and it launches like shit. All right, because we spun that one time, right? But yeah, it could have been the cold weather that contributed to it. So one thing we could do is just lower the tire pressure, so you get a more contact patch. All right, that's what we could do if we use these tires. I'm planning to get some slicks so we can try to ride the slicks. Okay, but those need to be warmed up. So I don't know, man. We'll see. But they'll be softer than these tires. We just run them at really low tire pressure, you know. So yeah, we could get better tires. Just be careful not to spin, I guess, you know. And then we have to work on our reaction times, all right? So we didn't do anything lower than a .1, all right? The .123, I believe, is our best, and that was the first run, all right? So we got to try to get our reaction times lower, like under .1 second, all right? 1/10 of a second. If it's under 1/10 of a second, that's good enough for me, all right? But the other guys, they're all under .1 seconds, all right? If you're a really good drag racer, you can do that, all right? Or run perfect lights. HadesOmega is, I'm okay. We're doing everything we can. I'm deep staging to try to get the reaction times down. But like I mentioned, that's the problem with these electric bikes. When you twist the throttle, it takes like a microsecond or apparently 1/10 of a second for it to tell, you know, to tell the controller, hey, you need to make the motor move, all right? So, and that's what I've noticed for every electric bike that I've raced. It's like that. The throttle is slow for drag racing, all right? The Sauron is slow. My impulse was slow. I have to deep stage every time, okay? But hopefully, I'm gonna try to bring the Light B out maybe next time, so I can get better reaction times on it. I jacked all, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I jacked all the power up, the phase currents up in the beginning and the top speed. So should be interesting. We should be able to take off faster. Okay, and that's the problem I was having with the Light B before. Our reaction times weren't very good. Okay, hopefully we fixed that with you know, the new setting up the phase current all the way. Hopefully. Okay, so there you go. That's the after action review for Wednesday Night Drags, June 28, 2023. Thanks for watching. HadesOmega out.